All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about the final, most intense week of Jesus's entire ministry. He's arriving in Jerusalem, which is the absolute center of Jewish life, religion, and politics. And let me tell you, the air is thick with tension. This is not some casual holiday visit. This is a showdown. And it all kicks off the second he walks through the city gates. So as he makes his way into the city, there's one question that's just buzzing through the streets, on everyone's lips. Who is this? The whole city is in an uproar. And that one simple question is really what this whole dramatic week is all about. Everything that's about to unfold is Jesus's answer. You see, his entrance into Jerusalem was anything but accidental. This was a carefully staged, symbolic act. You could almost call it a piece of street theater, and every single detail was packed with meaning, all designed to make a very specific and very bold claim about who he was. And this is where it gets really clever. By choosing to ride on a donkey, he was deliberately acting out an ancient prophecy from the book of Zechariah. See, conquering kings rode on war horses. Kings of peace, they rode on donkeys. So this wasn't about what animal was available. It was a powerful public statement. He was announcing, I am the king you've been waiting for, but he's a king of peace and humility, not the military warlords so many expected. And the crowd? Oh, they got it. They totally understood the symbolism. Just look at what they were shouting. Son of David wasn't just a friendly nickname. That was a royal Messianic title. And Hosanna, it literally means save us now. They were publicly hailing him as their long-awaited king, the one sent from God to finally save them. So what's the very first thing this newly declared king does in his capital city? He goes straight to the heart of power, the temple. But he isn't there to pray or offer a sacrifice. No, he's there to make a point, and it is a big one. Just try to picture the scene. The outer court of the temple was a massive, noisy, bustling marketplace. You had people hawking animals, vendors shouting, money changers haggling, and Jesus just walks in and, with this incredible authority, shuts the whole thing down. He clears the entire place out. And he gets specific. He goes right for the tables of the money changers and flips them over. This wasn't some random act of rage. This was a direct assault on the temple's financial system, which many people felt was corrupt and exploitative. It was a targeted act of judgment. But then, in the middle of this chaos, in this space that he's just cleared out, everything changes. The blind and the lame, the very people who were often pushed to the margins of society, they come up to him and he heals them. He's showing everyone what the temple was supposed to be all along, a place for people to connect with God and find restoration, not a place to get ripped off. And he backs it all up with scripture. He actually pulls quotes from the prophets Isaiah and Jeremiah, and he levels this devastating accusation at the temple authorities. He's saying, you've taken God's house, a sacred place of prayer, and you've turned it into a hideout for thieves. But his judgment wasn't over. The very next morning, he gives them another powerful, living object lesson. He sees this fig tree that's full of leaves, which should mean it has fruit, but it's barren. So he curses it, and it withers up on the spot. It was the perfect symbol for the religious system he was confronting. It had all the outward appearances of life and holiness, but underneath, it was spiritually empty, totally fruitless. Okay, so after a kingly entrance and literally turning the temple upside down, you can bet the religious leaders weren't going to just let that slide. This was a direct challenge to their power on their turf. A confrontation was coming, and it was coming fast. And there it is. The chief priests and the elders corner him. And this isn't some philosophical debate. This is a legal challenge. They are demanding to see his credentials. They're basically saying, who do you think you are? Does your authority come from God, or did you just make it up yourself? But Jesus' response here is absolutely brilliant. Instead of answering them, he flips it right back on them with a question about John the Baptist, and it puts them in an impossible position. I mean, look at this dilemma. If they say John's authority was from God, Jesus will ask why they didn't believe him, making them look like hypocrites. But if they say John was just some guy, they risk a full-blown riot because the people loved John. They are completely and utterly trapped. So what's their answer? We don't know. It is the ultimate political cop-out. It's not an honest answer. It's a desperate move to save face. And because they refuse to answer him truthfully, they lose any right to get an answer from him. He has publicly exposed them and completely silenced them.
Now, with their challenge completely neutralized, Jesus goes on the offensive. He's not defending himself anymore. He starts to pronounce judgment on them. And he does it with a couple of unforgettable stories. The first story is so simple, but it's devastating. A father asks his two sons to go work. The first son is rude and says, "No way." But later, he changes his mind and actually goes. The second son is all polite, says, "Yes, sir, of course," but then he never actually does the work. So who really did what the father wanted? The point is crystal clear. It's what you do that matters, not what you say you'll do. And then he drops the bombshell. He looks right at these powerful, respected religious leaders and says that the sinners they look down on, the tax collectors, the prostitutes, the outcasts who actually repented, are getting into God's kingdom before them. Can you just imagine the shock and outrage? He completely flipped their whole world upside down. And he doesn't stop there. He immediately tells another story, and this one is even darker. It's a story of rebellion that just gets worse and worse. A landowner sends his servants to collect the rent, but the tenants beat them up and kill them. So he sends more servants, and they do the same thing. Finally, he thinks, surely they'll respect my son. So he sends his own son. But what do? In a final, horrific act of defiance, they kill the son so they can steal his inheritance. Now here's the genius part. Jesus stops the story and asks the leaders, "So, what do you think the owner will do to those tenants?" And they walk right into his trap. They don't realize he's talking about them, and they pronounce their own sentence. The owner will destroy those wicked men and give the vineyard to someone else. They literally condemn themselves with their own words. Jesus then drives the point home with this powerful line from the Psalms. He is the stone that the builders, in this case the religious leaders of Israel, have tossed aside as useless. But in God's great plan, that very same rejected stone is about to become the most important piece of the entire structure, the cornerstone. And you know what? There was zero confusion in the room. They knew. They knew exactly who he was talking about. They were the disobedient son. They were the murderous tenants. These weren't just simple stories. They were public indictments. And at that moment, their goal changed from trying to outsmart him to finding a way to get rid of him. So this entire intense confrontation leaves us with this one final heavy question. The whole story is about a transfer of leadership, a transfer of authority based on who is actually productive and faithful. And it forces us, even today, to ask, what happens when the people entrusted with spiritual leadership turn out to be corrupt and empty? When an institution is judged fruitless, who inherits the vineyard?